Tetsuo the Iron Man is a 1989 Japanese cyberpunk body horror film directed, written, edited, and produced by Shinya Tsukamoto, who also stars in the film alongside Tamaro Taguchi, Kei Fujiwara, and Nobu Kanoka. The film has a runtime of just over an hour at 67 minutes and a budget that was around $100,000. It was shot guerrilla style, with many of the crew members having multiple roles during production. The visuals are very interesting and provocative, and it's quite impressive given how small the budget and the crew of the project were. The film has strong themes of shame and sexuality. For starters, the metal fetishist is just as it sounds, a guy who is obsessed with and turned on by metal. The first scene of the film is the fetishist placing a rusty metal rod into a self-made wound in his leg, but after doing so, he sees the wound as infested with maggots. He runs out into the streets in a panic when he is hit by the salaryman's car. The salaryman was getting some assistance from his girlfriend at the time of the crime, and the two follow up on this by abducting the fetishist and dragging him to the woods, where they have sex up against a tree as he watches. Yes, really. So after this happens, the salaryman is waiting for a train when a woman sitting next to him is possessed by a big metal wad that appears next to them. She starts mutating into metal and tries to kill the salaryman, chasing him at supersonic speeds throughout the city, but ultimately he kills her. The next little bit gets even weirder. The man has dreams of his girlfriend, let's say, probing him with her big, long, metal hose pipe. The salaryman awakens from this dream and immediately starts having sex with his girlfriend. Then they stop, and he feeds her some food, sensually off a fork. But this proves to be far too arousing for him, as his penis is transformed into a drill. He freaks out and hides in a closet where his girlfriend follows him, claiming she can handle whatever is going on. She gets one look at his new metal face, and it is evident that she cannot. The salaryman then gets super rapey and is violently trying to drill his girlfriend, but she fights him off, stabbing him in the throat, causing him to collapse on the ground. She then starts making out with him and straddling him as he's lying there bleeding, and after passing out, he wakes up to her potentially committing suicide via dildo. Yeah, man, I can't believe it either. The salaryman gives her a nice little bathtub funeral, or it was nice before he started oozing gasoline maybe into her mouth. The girlfriend turns into a zombie for a bit, but then she collapses into a meat pile on the ground, and the metal fetishist grows from the meat mound, revealing that he too has been undergoing a metal transformation, and he's holding some nice flowers for the salaryman. The rest of the movie is the salaryman and the fetishist playing cat and mouse, chasing one another across the city, again at supersonic speed, until they get into a fight. Ultimately, the salaryman grabs the metal fetishist, and the two of them fuse into one big phallic metal hunk of junk, the fetishist saying their love will turn the whole world to metal. The most obvious thing out of the way, at the end of the movie the fetishist literally says that he and the salaryman are in love, so there's that, but there's also the salaryman's dream of his girlfriend performing an openly homoerotic act. After he grows his drill bit, he hides in a closet, which is a very popular phrase concerning hiding one's sexuality, and I think this is the perfect representation of the middle ground theme of shame. You have the shame the salaryman feels about his sexuality and the shame felt from the various sexual acts performed throughout the film. The first one that I touched on before is that of the inciting incident. The fetishist sees the maggots in his wound only after he follows through his sexual fantasy, and logistically they wouldn't have been there so soon, as the wound was made only seconds prior to the insertion, which is what, I feel, proves the maggots to simply be a manifestation of shame. There's also a through line of hypersexuality in the film, as the salaryman and his girlfriend are constantly going at it, no matter the situation, something which leads to the hit and run in the beginning, the often reappearing instance in the woods after the fetishist's abduction, which also showcases the salaryman's newfound interest in the fetishist as his gaze rests squarely on him during the act, and the girlfriend's death at the end of the second act. There are also a series of vignettes which seem to be memories of the fetishist and perhaps the start of his obsession with metal. One of these vignettes shows an older man inserting a rusty metal rod into the fetishist's head, quite literally penetrating his thoughts and changing the trajectory of his life. The fetishist is a more outwardly sexual being than the salaryman, with his flamboyant makeup, the flowers mentioned earlier, and the clothes he wears, etc. I think he really plays an interesting role as a more knowledgeable and seasoned mentor for the salaryman as he learns to embrace his sexuality, often explaining what's happening to the salaryman and even being the one to awaken this transformation of the salaryman in the first place. And I feel it is a relevant detail that Tsukamoto is the one who plays the fetishist, the driving force for a lot of the story, making these themes all the more realized and intentional. I think it's also a surprisingly hopeful depiction of struggling with sexuality, as though the film is dark, grungy, very sweaty, and depraved, as well as cold and metallic. The story of the salaryman, literally an unnamed everyman, who initially fights against, hides, and feels shame of his sexual awakening, in the end accepts who he is and moves forward, content with what he has become and even finding pride in it. In conclusion, this film is very layered and very provocative, and it certainly goes for it, though I'm not entirely sure what it is in this instance. I like the film, but it's a little too disjointed for my taste, though I do get the sense that is what Tsukamoto is going for here. I'd give it a loose 8 out of 10, and though I probably will never watch it again, I also doubt that I will forget it anytime soon.